Hi, I'm Mac, and a part of me dies forever when the 3DS eShop shuts down.
A great many eShop download exclusives go extinct when the 3DS and Wii U eShop shuts down fully in March of 2023. Though I do have some hope that some of them will be re-released in the future, maybe in special collections. One piece of software that I don't see ever being re-released, or at least not recognizably, is Pokedex 3D Pro.
Now, if you're thinking that Pokedex 3D Pro sounds like the name of a paid version of an inferior free iPhone app, then yes, you're kind of right. And yes, you're kind of right.
To understand Pokedex 3D Pro, we have to go back to its roots, Pokedex 3D. Pokedex 3D was a free eShop exclusive developed by Creatures Inc. that launched in June of 2011 as a sort of companion to Pokemon Black and White, which released only a few months previous in North America. It's a digital encyclopedia that gave us our first real taste of 3D Pokemon models on a handheld. It includes only the 153 Pokemon from the Unova Pokedex, but with a twist. Each user starts with only these 16 Pokemon and obtains the other entries via trading with other users. Additionally, with Spot Pass, 3 random Pokemon were distributed to your 3DS a day, if it was in sleep mode and connected to the internet. I remember leaving my 3DS in sleep mode at my side as a kid and checking it excitedly every so often to see if I got a new Pokemon. I didn't know it maxed out at 3 per day though, so at some point I must have started to look like a fucking idiot. Originally, these 6 Pokemon were obtainable only via AR codes, and the alternate variants of these Pokemon would only be available via trading, but a 2012 update made it possible for everything to be available just via Spot Pass. Each entry includes the basic Pokedex information like the infamously stupid height and weight statistics, as well as abilities and evolution lines. They also included egg groups and even a move dex. Of course, you got a nice 3D model to play around with, and each Pokemon also has their own little playable animation, which are most similar to the Pokemon Stadium animations in that they have any quality or personality. You may have noticed that Pokedex entries also have the QR code fetuses that are AR codes. I mentioned AR earlier, and yes, Pokedex 3D had an augmented reality camera function that significantly predates Pokemon Go. Like in the normal Pokedex screen, you can hear the Pokemon's call, initiate its animation, or freeze it. There was actually a system where scanning codes for the first time and taking pictures of the Pokemon gave you stickers. Stickers were used for unlocking features like the aforementioned animation freezing function, displaying more Pokemon at once, and setting saved images from the 3DS as the background. It would take over 300 stickers to unlock everything, and it was so mind-numbingly boring that an update came out only 4 months after release that automatically unlocked everything for free.
I had fun with Pokedex 3D as a kid, and it sold me on the upgraded version, Pokedex 3D Pro.
I deleted 3D when I got 3D Pro, which I sort of regret now since 3D was taken off of the eShop in October of 2012. Pokedex 3D Pro was released in July of 2012 in Japan and November of 2012 everywhere else, as a companion to Pokemon Black and White 2, which released just around a month earlier for both respective regions. Along with new stuff, it also featured all of 3D's unlockable content right off the bat. It included all 649 existing Pokemon up to that point, with Genesect and the 2 forms of Meloetta being secret entries obtained by completing quizzes that were unlocked via codes. In 3D Pro, instead of the Pokemon's call playing every time you turn to a new page, a robotic voice like the one from the anime tells you the name of the Pokemon, just so you feel like a real dumbass for saying Rainiclus wrong for like 8 years.
Bulbasaur! Bulbasaur!
Now you can make the Pokemon cry on command, just like you can with kids. There is a little type matchup table for each Pokedex entry, but for some reason you could also just pelt Pokemon with attacks from each type in the AR camera and gauge how effective they were based on how hard the Pokemon shuddered. I'm not joking when I say that I never knew that as a kid and somehow only discovered it just now. The thing I remember the most about 3D Pro, though, was the challenges, which were Pokemon identifying quizzes based on stuff like evolution, silhouette, Pokedex entry, etc. I remember playing these as a kid and being like, man, I wish I was this good at multiplication tables. I had never been so directly rewarded for my abundance of completely impractical knowledge. Finally, we come to the probably lesser known Pokedex for iOS. I never even knew this existed as a kid, probably because it was easier to come across fan-made Pokedex apps on the App Store, so I can't say I have much personal experience with it, but it's not too different from 3D Pro. It was released later than the 3DS version in December of 2012, being the first Pokemon mobile app to be released outside of Japan. It was unfortunately delisted in November of 2015, so just like the others are or will be, it's no longer available for download. It makes sense to me that it was delisted so soon. If you already have an iPhone to download it on, you might as well just use it to look up the same information for free. That's right, the app wasn't free. The base app was $1.99 at launch, but like Pokedex 3D, it only included Generation 5. Each previous generation of Pokemon needed to be purchased separately for $5.99 each, making the complete iOS Pokedex the most expensive of the two at a whole $25.95. While I agree that Apple users are the best audience to target with products that are 90% more expensive than they need to be, the Pokedex immediately became outdated when Gen 6 came out in 2013, so there truly wasn't enough of an audience to keep it on the App Store for long. So, what did Pokedex for iOS have to offer? Not much that 3D Pro didn't do before. Of course, it also had more high-definition Pokemon models than the 3DS screens could offer. As far as I know, though, it removed the quizzes, but additionally offered information on in-game Pokemon locations. Besides that, I don't think there was much different in terms of content, so I wouldn't worry too much about missing out. Pokedex 3D and its siblings were an experiment and an easy way for Game Freak to make money off of the 3D models they were making while X and Y were in development. It was mostly for little kids like me at the time that were easily entertained and didn't know how to go on Bulbapedia yet, but I think the 3D models were exciting for grown-up fans at the time too. Pokedex 3D and iOS are already extinct, so Pokedex 3D Pro is your last chance of getting this application, and it's fading fast. It's kind of a waste of money, just go on Bulbapedia.